My name's John Manwaring. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. Moved down to Melbourne almost 2 years ago. Currently studying law at Melbourne Uni, and I've been HIV positive for 7 years. I like to go out and speak because it gives me an opportunity to do things for myself and for the people I'm talking to. Because after I was diagnosed, I never really had the opportunity to talk about a lot of things, and chose in some instances not to talk about them. So it puts me in a position where I can talk about these uncomfortable topics and hopefully teach people about the choices that I made, the behaviors I engaged in, hopefully so they won't make the same sorts of choices, but then also learn something from them and how they react to that and how they associate with that. The most important thing I can tell them is that sense of self-worth, that sense of self-respect. It seems trivial in a way. It seems like there's so many other important things that we need to worry about, but it's so easy to lose oneself without that sense, without that center, to make choices that are detrimental, to treat people in a way that isn't good for you or for them. Whereas if we have that grounding, any one of us, if we know in a general sense, we don't have to know the particulars, but just at a foundation who we are and what we want out of life and how we want to approach life, I think we get so much more out of it. It's never certain and it's never perfect, but it's better. And so as that relates to those kids, I'm hoping that they look at that and they hear that, and that they genuinely think about it, that they apply it. So when somebody says something awful to them or bullies them, that it's going to be a traumatizing experience or difficult experience, but that they can counter that with a sense of, I know who I am, and I know I'm not who they say I am. So when somebody maybe asks them if they want to try drugs or if they want to have unsafe sex or things like that, that they can have that sensibility, that wherewithal to say, I respect myself too much to make that choice, and I respect hopefully the rest of the world as well, and I'm not going to make that choice. So that's what I hope they carry with them. I found out I was HIV positive in January 2006 when I was 22 years old. But I'd been out for 3 years at that point, and I'd been able to kind of be myself for a little bit. I moved out of home. I didn't necessarily cut off my family, but I was able to distance myself from my family, to be myself, or at least try and find out who I was as myself. And that involved exploring sexually and just trying to see what that was all about and what it meant to be gay and what the gay community was, and all these things I'd been taught growing up to understand how they were wrong and how they were right, and really for the first time in my life find out what I believed. Where when I started having sex, I was very diligent about having safer sex, using condoms, getting tested regularly, but bit by bit and week by week that kind of fell by the wayside. People would ask me my status, and I was fine then. I said I was HIV negative, and he would say he's HIV negative, so we didn't see the need. And there was never any negative reinforcement in terms of you should use protection because bad things will happen. It's just like, it's not going to happen to me. That's something that happens to other people, different parts of town, different parts of the country, not Middle America, certainly. Since being diagnosed, the process I've gone through is ongoing, and I think there was a time where I thought it was a finite process, that at some point it would end. It's not going to. I realize that's not just being diagnosed with HIV, it's living. We all want to have the answers, we all want everything to fit neatly into categories, but it's not that way. It's messy, it's unpleasant, it's uncertain. And HIV is just another uncertainty in that process, another variable in the equation, if you want. Since I've been HIV positive, every opportunity I've had to disclose has brought about a different reaction. Originally, I didn't disclose. I didn't want to disclose to anybody. I very much wanted to play that information close to my chest because, for the only reason, I was so deeply worried about the stigma. So I tried to keep it a secret, and after a while I realized that was doing more harm than good, because it came back to that concept of self-respect. I wasn't being honest with myself or with the world. I thought it was something I could hide. So when I did start telling people, when I was in situations, sexual situations, where I felt absolutely I should tell, just as a moral thing, personal moral thing, I got some indifferent reactions, which is good. Just, I don't care, let's keep going. I got rage from people shouting at me and saying, how dare you even talk to me? I got cold silence, people getting up, walking out the door, and that's, just like the stuff I learned at church when I was a kid. I internalized it all. I felt so bad. I already felt bad. I felt like I'd become a statistic. I felt like I was just the stereotype somehow, the gay man going out and getting HIV. And it took me some time to realize that itself was stigma. That itself was a stereotype, a misconception, that I wasn't trying to challenge that ever. I wasn't saying that's not what HIV is. This is what HIV is. I'm a person with HIV, and this is my life. It's not that story that we all seem to think we know from all those really bad television shows in the late 80s and early 90s. It's this. And I think at a point I began to develop some courage on that front, and realize that if somebody was going to have a bad reaction because I was HIV positive, that was their problem. I say courage, but that was an incredibly difficult decision to make, because I knew I was risking alienating a lot of people. And, in the gay community, I did alienate a lot of people. There's a mindset I don't quite understand, but many people don't want to associate with it. But for the most part, I got nothing but love and support, and even respect in some cases, which was strange, but it challenged everything I had thought to that point. So where I had started this process of the way I'd thought about HIV, to have the reaction I expected not come about for the most part, was remarkable, and it shocked me. So I think I think when it comes down to it, that's what we all need to do, is try and have that courage. Not necessarily run up to everybody on the street and say, I have HIV, and shake them until they get it, but to realize that it does start with us. It's an unfair burden, and it is a burden, but if we have any hope of really countering that stigma, then we need to address it. We need to say, I am HIV, my friend has HIV, and that's him, that's his life, that's her life, to show that it's not some scary, sickening thing, but it's just part of our lives now.